What is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. Alright, y'all. Now, today, as you can tell by the title of this video, we are back to talk about Brittany Murphy and her husband. Now, obviously on this topic, we are here to talk about the very eerie and similar deaths of her and her husband at the time, Simon Monjack. This was back in 2009. Now, I know a lot of you are aware of the story, and I actually did a video on her a couple of years ago, but today we are back to talk about a couple of new things that I might not have mentioned in the first part. Now, what gave me the spark to do this video is I saw a recent, I guess you could call it, documentary about her death. Now, this was about 2 months ago. I think it was uploaded to Entertainment News. Y'all know E. So they did a really good deep dive into her death. And they brought up a couple of points that, you know, maybe they weren't looking at it as like a conspiracy or that she was sacrificed. But, you know, little do they know, it screamed sacrifice. You know, it screamed that typical Hollywood industry sacrifice. And we know her and her husband died basically the same way. Like, we're gonna get into the story, we're gonna get into the mom, because it's very eerie. The mom and the husband, very eerie, very questionable. And I just thought we definitely should pull this topic back up, talk about it one more time, because it still doesn't sit right what happened to her and how she was actually sacrificed way back in 2009. And I just remember it being one of those things that at the time I had no idea about. I don't even think until a couple years after she died, I realized she was dead. You know, some people you see on the TV so much, you don't actually even realize it, you know, and that was way before TikTok, Instagram. So things weren't being posted on the internet as much. So, you know, it kind of took a few years to be like, oh, wow, she's dead. Like, Brittany Murphy actually died. Like, sometimes you just don't realize it with some of these people because you're so used to seeing them on the screen, right? So with that being said, y'all, we'll get into this clip as much as I can. I clipped it down to about 10 minutes or so. So, you know, we'll jump in and out and check out some of the really interesting parts of the footage that they posted, all right? So with that being said, y'all, we'll go ahead and jump into the first clip I have. Check this out.
I'm a happy type person. I smile a lot.
Brittany, please come back.
She's a Scorpio. What else do you need to know?
I'm a double Scorpio.
Double Scorpio.
She evidently collapsed in the bathroom.
E.T. uncovers the details behind Brittany Murphy's tragic end.
The 32-year-old who gained fame in movies like Clueless, Girl Interrupted, and 8 Mile.
With questions still surrounding her Hollywood home and the suspicious spouse who died in an eerily similar way.
We don't know why things work out the way they do.
We're conducting an investigation into the death of Brittany Murphy.
What was the address of the emergency?
1895 Rising Glen Road.
The address, Brittany's Hollywood Hills home, a space shared with her mom Sharon and husband of 2 years, Simon Monjack.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My daughter's passed out. She was dizzy. She couldn't walk right. She's had a cold. Oh my God.
That's Sharon's frantic 911 call nearly 20 years after the mother and daughter set out to attain Brittany's dreams of stardom.
Is someone coming?
Yeah, ma'am.
Well, I think they knew that she was sick because she'd had this terrible laryngitis. And there was a period at about 3 o'clock in the morning, she was gasping for breath, and she actually said, "I think I'm going to die."
Can you feel or hear any breathing?
No.
Okay, all right, listen to me carefully.
Were you there when they said she didn't make it? They let us know at the same time that she hadn't made it.
But we knew before that. It was just, you saw the life go out of her.
I saw them come around the corner of the house with her on a gurney. And there was one fireman trying to resuscitate her, trying to put things down her throat. And she was totally yellow.
We come out, we look at everything, any prescription meds that we do take. We will have to analyze everything and go from there.
The coroner says the death appears to be of natural causes.
Brittany was buried here alongside countless stars at Forest Lawn Cemetery.
Now, really quick before we get back into the remaining clips, right? Not going to read everything from this article just yet, but, let's just touch on some of the facts just for the people that don't remember. So it says, instead of reaching the A-list, Brittany Murphy was found dead in the bathroom of her Hollywood Hills mansion just before Christmas on December 20th, 2009. The first autopsy report listed pneumonia, iron deficiency anemia, and multiple drug intoxication as the cause of Brittany Murphy's death, though no illegal substances were found in her blood. And then just 5 months later, her husband, Simon Monjack, died in the same mansion under eerily similar circumstances. Ever since, disturbing theories about how Brittany Murphy died have emerged. Now it says by the end of 2009, Brittany Murphy's career had deflated, dropped from a number of feature film roles and a lucrative voice acting spot as Luann on TV's King of the Hill, after tabloid rumors of her abusing substances spread through the industry. Murphy was painted as tardy and unfocused, barely able to hold her lines because of her bad drug habit. Murphy's husband, Simon Monjack, meanwhile claimed the rumors were started by former managers and agents to sabotage her career. The thing is, Brittany Murphy was the breadwinner of her family and a caregiver to her mother, who struggled against multiple bouts of breast cancer, as well as her husband, who suffered heart problems. The actress continued to work in Los Angeles, starring in low-budget film roles merely for the paychecks. Yet, even as Murphy's stardom continued to fade, no one could have guessed the tragic manner in which her life would suddenly end. So it's crazy. By the time, it came around to 2009, and she was only 32, y'all. So, she had plenty of life left in, the film industry to continue making films, so on and so on. But her career was basically falling flat on its face for, her supposedly being tardy and having drug problems. This is how they supposedly got sick. Now, so to this day, 2025, we're talking about 15 plus years later, it is still very questionable on how she died. Says in November 2009, Brittany Murphy, her husband, and her mother flew to Puerto Rico to shoot her next film, Caller, a low-budget horror movie. So it says it didn't take long for problems to crop up here. However, the movie producers tried to ban Monjack from the set after he allegedly showed up drunk. As a result, Murphy quit the project on the first day. So deciding to turn that work trip into a family vacation, Murphy and her family continued their stay on the island for 8 more days. On their flight back home, her mother and her husband became sick with the bacteria responsible for staph infections. Monjack was reportedly so sick that they had to perform an emergency landing mid-flight to take him to the hospital. Then, in early morning of December 20th, 2009, Brittany Murphy collapsed on the balcony of her Hollywood Hills mansion. She was lying on the patio trying to catch her breath. Her mother recalled, "I said, baby, get up." She said, "Mommy, I can't catch my breath. Help me. Help me." Because Murphy had been sick for 6 weeks at this point. 6 weeks. And because, as her mother claimed, she had a flair for the dramatic, her cries weren't taken seriously. Monjack remembered that she said to her mom, "I'm dying. I'm going to die. Mommy, I love you." Hours later, Murphy collapsed for a second and final time in her bathroom. She was rushed to the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she died at only 32 years old. So we'll go ahead and jump back into these clips because there's stuff in here that I want y'all to hear, and we're going to talk about a little bit more that makes this story just very weird, y'all. All right, check this out.
Very sad, and a lot of questions obviously swirling around what happened.
One of the biggest questions:
an autopsy is planned reportedly against the wishes of her husband.
Who was Brittany's husband? And what led to his death in the same house under the same circumstances as Brittany?
Brittany died of 3 causes: pneumonia, anemia, and a toxic mix of prescription drugs.
Their romance coming as Brittany's career took a hit. SNL took shot at her just weeks before her death, and in the weeks that followed, Simon became a surprising mouthpiece for Brittany's legacy.
To set the record straight for once and for all, Brittany was not taking any medication for her mood, for anorexia, for any kind of mental illness, and it's just utterly ridiculous.
The question is, how did somebody get to this point?
for that fateful home in 2003, a high-end house she bought from another Brittany.
Brittany, right here, please. Brittany.
The property came with its own lore, a former makeup artist for Spears claiming it was haunted.
I had my friend do Reiki healing on her. He left. She swears to God that they're like, he opened some spirit portal or something, and these bad spirits had come in and they were trying to like push her down the stairs or something crazy. It was so bad that she left and never went back to that house again. She put her house on the market, and guess who bought that house?
But years before Brittany and her husband died inside the mansion nestled amongst the Hollywood Hills, there was Ashton. Meanwhile, in 2007, Brittany tied the knot with screenwriter Simon, despite her inner circle's concern over the Brit's checkered past.
She was everything he ever wanted. She was beautiful and smart, and she loved him, and she was his entrance into show business.
I wish I could say I was more surprised when it happened, just because of that, it's her business, whatever, but that toxic guy she was with, Simon.
Simon also proved bad for business. In fact, on day one of filming The Caller in Puerto Rico, Simon caused chaos on set.
She was unhappy with the script because he tried to be her representative. She wouldn't confront the producer and director. He confronted him, and they said, well, he goes or you're out. And she said goodbye. He stayed a few days in Puerto Rico, and Simon and Sharon got bad colds, and they came home with them. Within a matter of days, Brittany caught their cold, and she got quite ill. The last 10 days of her life, she had the worst laryngitis of her life. She was suffering from anemia. She was losing a lot of blood. At the time she died, she had 1/4 the normal red blood count. And then the pneumonia was filling her lungs with fluid at the same time. And what was even worse was she couldn't take care of herself. That last night, she was mostly worried about her mom and her husband.
In her final days, Brittany looked to a fresh start on the East Coast, planning a career comeback.
She laid on the bed for quite a while Simon and Sharon were discussing the logistics of moving to New York and the future plans. She got up and went out on the porch, and she said, I can't breathe. She was having trouble breathing, and she was very weak. And she was trying to be there for everybody else, and she could barely be there for herself. She kind of retreated to the bathroom, which was her room. And she'd go in there sometimes for hours and sing to herself and read poetry and do stuff. It was kind of her room. Simon used to joke it was the Brittany-sized room because she was only 5'2", and it was a small room. And it made her feel good to be there. And that's the room where she died.
It's a small world. Philip E. Ryan, who was a very close friend of mine, lived 5 houses from Brittany. So literally we were there when the sirens were going on, and we didn't know what it was.
First, Simon put her into a cold shower to try and revive her. Her mother was with her and frantically trying to help her. And then they called 911.
Brittany, please come back.
And they're in frantic. I mean, Brittany was their life. Obviously, her mother had built her whole life around Brittany, but so had Simon.
When we all heard it was terrible. I mean, Brittany she was a bottle of soda. She was the sun.
What other reason is there not to smile? I woke up today. Life. Thank you, Lord.
And for her to pass away like that, and in such a way, and in such a toxic relationship, it just was terrible.
In the aftermath, Simon's red flags laid bare. The 40-year-old claimed he was setting up a foundation in her honor, but to many, it was a clear cash grab scam. There was also an awkward press tour with Sharon, with curious portraits taken in January, alongside tough-to-watch TV sit-downs.
Hollywood is a village, and once you upset the villagers, they talk, and they gossip, and they rumor, and they have blood on their hands.
Then, on May 23, 2010, Sharon discovered Simon unconscious just feet from where she found Brittany. And while online theories about mold and secret poisoning persist, Brittany and Simon's official causes of death were simple: pneumonia and anemia.
Now, here is something I don't think we spent much time on or visited at all in part 1 of Brittany Murphy's death that I did a couple of years ago. I didn't realize that her husband, Simon, was in a relationship with her mom. And I don't think it just started after Brittany's death. A lot of reports say Simon died 6 months after, and a lot of articles say he died 5 months after Brittany died. But y'all, look at these photos. Why are they holding hands like this? She's leaning on him, hand on his stomach. This is relationship photos. This is, we have had sexual relationship type of photos. The way they grabbing each other, the way she's looking at him, leaning on him. Like, honestly, it looks weird. Like, even when I saw that she was with him, he never even looked like the type of dude you would think dates Brittany Murphy. You know, a girl at that time that could have probably had anyone she wanted to have. She was with a dad, basically. Dude, look like they actually look like they should be together. This looks like mom and dad almost. It don't look like you look at this guy and be like, he was married to Brittany Murphy? And they both heavily depended on her and her money and her career. She introduced him to Hollywood, and her mom just hanging around, living with them, having sexual relationships with him. We can completely say that. It's if these people already knew that there was weird stuff going on from these photos, and he was sleeping in the mom's bed. They actually say when they found him dead in the house, he was in her bed. So they just continued right on doing what they were doing, that I'm pretty sure Brittany probably knew about. 'Cause this is Hollywood we're talking about here. Sick and ritualistic Hollywood. So I'm pretty sure she knew that her husband was also doing things with her mom, because this just screams ritual to me. Now, one thing you might have skipped and didn't quite pay attention to is that Britney Spears owned the house that was sold for $3.8 million to Brittany Murphy in 2003, I think. Her and Simon stayed there for about 5 to 6 years. 10,000 square foot home. Huge. Now, y'all saw that Brittany Murphy's makeup artist said that she swears that a spirit portal was opened in that home, and that Brittany Murphy herself was also questionable about the eeriness of the home. Britney Spears got out of the home. Something happened to her so bad dealing with those spirits inside of the house, and we already know everything she was going through from her Disney days. She got up out of there. And Britney, probably at the time, not knowing about the house, bought it. It got so bad that Brittany Murphy never wanted to actually go home. She used to always try and spend nights in the Beverly Hills Hotel, because there was something very eerie about the house. So we're talking about demons, you know, running through the house. Basically, if someone said they felt like someone opened spirit portals there and they were doing rituals in that house, this is not a home you want to live in. But one thing that remains questionable and still remains eerie about all of this stuff to this day is the relationship from Brittany, Simon, and her mom, Sharon, and how Brittany and Simon died just 5 to 6 months apart, the same exact way, from supposedly pneumonia, anemia, you know, and I don't think Simon had much prescription drugs in his system, if I'm not mistaken. And also Brittany Murphy Brittany Murphy's dad believes that she was poisoned because certain metals were found in her blood. But some people say from the autopsy that those metals were because she dyed her hair so much, which doesn't really make sense. Like, they actually told you exactly what metals were in her blood. I just can't really remember. But, you know, it was basically thought that she dyed her hair so much, so that's how those metals got in her blood. But I see this as something that I don't think we'll ever really get the truth of. I think she was sacrificed. I don't think she died from just straight up pneumonia, that she was, you know, sick for 6 weeks. Simon nor her mom took her to the hospital. Nobody wanted to go to the hospital. I believe her career was going down, and Hollywood used her as a sacrifice, as they always do. Like, when it's over for you, you've already got your big movies, your big hits. They don't see your career taking off again. You're no value to the industry. You become a energy harvesting ritual. You become a sacrifice for the people that you once pledged to, or, you know, the people that gave you that money and fame, aka ultimately the devil. And that's how this stuff happens. Now, if Simon never died and he just stayed alive, we would have a lot of fingers to point at. But also, her husband died as well. And I'm surprised the mom escaped, because of what was really going on in that house spiritually, you know, took Simon as well. I'm surprised the mom actually survived. But I will have to say that Brittany Murphy, you know, even just watching documentaries or videos and interviews, it seems eerie. It seems very weird, the relationship that all three of them had, especially Simon and the mom. I can't quite wrap my fingers around it, but we know that there was some very weird stuff going on. And so, you know, man, I'd rather get y'all opinions at this point of the video and go ahead and wrap it up. Please let me know what y'all think about this. It's been a long time since I talked about Brittany Murphy. Thought it would be dope to bring it back around. So yeah, man, definitely let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Anything that I may have missed. And with that being said, it's Black Balloon, and I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.